everyone. Abigail Gibbons here, the host of the WOW series. And today we're having our next WOW interview where we sit down with female leaders from around the world who are paving the way for the next generation. And today I am so honored to have here a friend, an inspiration of mine, a healer at her core, Haley Newman. She's the founder of Hales BTY. She hails, no pun intended, from the fashion industry and left to start her skincare beauty line now. More skincare, not beauty. I'll let you get into it more, Hales. That is really healing the world in a collective layer by skin and a bunch of other exciting projects that she has coming up. So she's going to share with us today not only how she got started in the entrepreneur world, how she got started to going from one industry to a completely different one. And then she's going to dive into, of course, as we always do in our WOW interviews, she's going to dive into a challenge she's had to overcome for all of those watching who relate to her story, who are in the corporate or fashion world. She's going to share a challenge that she had to overcome to hopefully show you that you're not alone. And then, of course, her advice for the current and next generation. So, Haley, before we get into it, I'd love for you to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Haley Newman. I'm building Hales BTY. We're an inclusive holistic cellular care line focused on bringing homeostasis, equilibrium, and harmony to the human experience. I started this company back in 2019. I was working in luxury advertising. Long story short, I was being paid to aggressively manipulate data, promoting a false image of a lot of things in society. And I was seeing how I was easing into adulthood, working in advertising in the industry, being in this construct that I was contributing to society in an inauthentic way. Speaking too fast. My mom always says to slow down.
Get excited, so we start talking fast. I do too.
And I just, through the progression of time, you start realizing what breathes authenticity to you, and I wanted to live and breathe that authentically. And at that time, I had been going through my own holistic wellness journey, taking care of myself, detoxing, and seeing how I was pretty much activating different levels of my physical and mental well-being. And I found myself becoming more and more removed from the corporate construct that I was working for. And it feels very liberating and validating to be building this in light of a global pandemic. We're going through a global reset, and it feels very, clear to be going in this direction to connect us with healing holistically as opposed to synthetically in a very aggressive time. So that's the motivation behind why I'm building this company, among many other things in the near future. So
no, absolutely. Thank you so much, Haley. And what's so important about what you do, and first of all, I love your attitude of like, I'm doing this at the perfect time in a pandemic, because it's true. Like, it goes to show that your product is needed, your work is needed. And I think so many entrepreneurs who are facing the pandemic or who have had a hard time in the pandemic, it's like, oh no, this is the worst thing to happen to my business. But with the work that you're doing, you realize like, oh no, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I started, to help us all come together and collectively heal. So before we get into more of your questions too, while we have our audience here, I would love for you to share a bit more about your products and what they do. I meant to bring yours over. I can go grab it really quick.
I have them here as well. I have some prototypes in the back. You can see the whole linear progression. It's so funny because I went to design school, so you really become the designer and alchemist of your life. And also from a perspective of being, I don't want to say a director completely, but just in the sense of, if you're a film director and you're creating a story, if you live your life in that perspective, designing it at angles, or, just creating certain boundaries, you can sort of, metaphysically create your life in that sense, if it makes any sense. It's very conceptual, but that's just food for thought. Sorry.
Let's see. I love that food for thought too, by the way, about how you
Yeah.
can kind of direct your life.
I just thought of that because I created all these labels, like, and
The labels
so
are so phenomenal too. I'm obsessed.
thank you. They're very, very, very simple.
Yeah.
Like, it's just gonna be, yeah. So these are the prototypes. I did all the labels, and it was like just creating this modality. I remember being quite nervous launching this
Hmm.
because I launched it pre-pandemic. But as you know, I'm very intuitive. I tend to do things, I tend to subconsciously work on projects that are slightly ahead of the curve. Again, I went to design school. We were taught to basically predict trends, basically help co-create solutions. And so in this day and age, I usually introduce myself as a creative engineer at this
Hmm.
point. You can be multifaceted and
Yeah,
all of that. And this modality, this holistic modality is just one very uh, simple yet prolific experience that people can dive into.
absolutely. I love it. And it's such a healing in terms of taking a moment just to take care of yourself and take care of your
Mhm.
skin. But then also healing just in terms of what that does for us over time and how we collectively heal as a whole. So I absolutely love how you're, in this community that we're building at the Wow series, are mission driven. We're not just an entrepreneur who wants to launch another skincare line to make a lot of money, but there's a mission and passion first in what they're starting and the products that they're starting. And I love that about what you've created is how you really wanted to heal from corporate burnout. You wanted others to heal from corporate burnout among the
Mhm.
many other issues that we're facing now. And so how you did that was through a skincare line, which makes so much sense. And then I love how you also will be building on top of that as well with other layers that we
Yeah.
can put together to heal and come together. And you said something too that you said you can be multifaceted, which
Mhm.
is so true and so important that we all remember. I think that when we are getting started and wanting to start a business or wanting to leave the corporate world, we think that we have to be one or the other. And something that I really try to educate on is that, as you said, you can be multifaceted. You can be an entrepreneur and work a corporate job if you need to. You can leave your corporate job and be an entrepreneur full time. You can have multiple different passions and titles, just as you are. And I think that is a challenge that many of us face, right? Is feeling like we have to fit in a certain box. So
Mm.
I'd love for you to share what your challenge has been that you'd like to share with our community related to work or life or all the above.
I think that it's so multifaceted again. Like everyone's human experience is different, and we all have different motivations behind what we want to do when we grow up and what we aspire to. And even when you reach those peaks, or when you reach that climax, how can basically, like, what is your perspective, as you shift, and what do you want to release to create more space for something new? And that's a constant perspective uh, trick and experience that a lot of people have as they're coming, we're coming of age. It's really
Mhm.
interesting how most generations now are digital natives,
Yeah.
and again, we're going through a paradigm shift. We're all co-creating a new paradigm together. How are we going to invest in the next generation America? How are we going to invest in us as a global collective? um, I think we're all facing a lot of personal challenges. What are we actually doing? How
Mhm.
are we existing as human beings? Are we contributing to the economy in a progressive way?
Mhm.
There's a big mirror that's being put in front of us, all of us individually. Um, so from that perspective, it's about how can you refine your lens, as a conscious human being, as a conscious consumer, as a conscious creator slash designer slash director of your own life.
Yeah.
um that's, yeah, I'm a Scorpio. Everything just becomes like transformation, metamorphosis, you know.
No, absolutely. I love that. And what I really love most about this conversation is we haven't really gotten into kind of this aspect of challenges that we're facing and more of that being a global collective and how all of us on a different level are, I love what you said, have a mirror placed in front of us right now, especially when the pandemic first hit. We were forced to sit and look at ourselves and what are we doing, and how are we advancing these different social issues? How are we making sure that we are, as you said, doing what's best for our life? How are we existing as humans in a way that benefits others and benefits ourselves, and all of that? And I think it's so important to reflect and ask yourselves those questions, even though it can be really challenging and really hard, because sometimes we might not like the answer about what we're doing. And
Mhm.
I think that's especially can ring true if we are in a job or career or business that we're like, ooh, I'm not really sure this is having the impact that I know I really want to have, or there might be something else out there for me. And navigating that change, or even navigating, like looking at yourself and being like, I remember when the pandemic first hit for me, I was like, how was I surviving? Like, I was all over Manhattan taking meetings everywhere, I was working my 9 to 5, I was growing my business.
Mm.
Like, that is no way to live. And then I was also self-reflected, and when I was looking at myself, as you said, like, oh, what am I really doing to help advance these causes that I care about? Where am I spending my money? How am I spending my money? Who am I supporting? Where do I need to be supporting more? And it's been such a learning experience. And something you kind of touched on too, which I think is so important, is that
Mhm.
social conditioning. So as we're coming
Mm.
of age and we go to school and we go to college and we do everything right, we kind of have that realization of like, well, I don't know if I love this job that I'm in, that everyone kind of prepped me to go do. I don't know if
Yeah.
this is really where I'm finding fulfillment. And that realization can be challenging too. And it is to women like you who left it, right? That can show other women like, oh, this is possible. Like, you don't have to do what you were conditioned to do. You can do something different.
Exactly. And it's so good that you can see it from that perspective too. And if we can normalize this
Mm,
and help shift the collective lens about what America is or who we are as a
mhm,
society, it's so
mhm,
important. We're rebranding America, we're investing in so many things.
mm.
And that I'm genetically mixed. So it's like I'm also representing next generation America
Wow.
from being biracial, Chinese, Russian,
Yeah.
and normalizing this
Yes.
um
Oh my
is
gosh, I want to chime in on that really quickly, because this is
sure.
something I've been thinking a lot about too. It's like, it's kind of when we think about like, oh, there's can be such a divide. Like, oh, we need to fit in the box of like, you need to do this successful corporate career and that's what defines success. Or you're an entrepreneur and you're like, I'm just an entrepreneur, like I can't be a corporate professional, or this is just
Mm,
who I am, etc. That also goes on like a society level, and we're seeing so much of that now, this divide where like you fit in one box in one community here. And we're having such trouble also understanding each other from different communities. And what I really love about your story is it's like, through who you are
mhm,
genetically and who you are as a person, is showing like, no, we can't all come together. You can come from different backgrounds and cultures and be this, and how can we
mhm,
normalize that? Like, how can we all come together to understand each other and normalize that we all exist in this society, in this world, in this collective together?
mhm.
So just help breaking down that barrier. And I love that about your story too, because as you said, when we had a different conversation, we had our Instagram live, you're like, I am white facing, like people will assume this about me, but there's always more layers,
So
right?
many layers.
Understanding,
What's that again?
there's always more layers, especially when you're understanding the person who you're talking to, or the person who you're getting to know. Like, there's always more to understand about their story and journey.
100%, 100%. You nailed it with that explanation. I think it's so crucial right now to be open-minded.
Hmm.
We're shifting the lens of America, or just the American experience, and also as a global collective, as us as a society are becoming more genetically mixed, more genetically
Hmm.
ambiguous. And I think that as a country, we just need to accept that and think about, again, as a designer, how can we influence media? How can we influence
Hmm.
Hollywood? How can we influence all of these things to help us heal in layers mentally, when we just take it down from that level.
Hmm.
It just breaks into human psychology at that point. How
Yeah.
can we invest in the psychology of the human race? Why
Yeah.
are people socially conditioned to be judgmental towards different ethnic groups?
Hmm.
They're what makes America America. They're
Hmm.
what makes America great, wonderful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love that. It's true. It's where does that start at the beginning? Like, why are we, what is, why might we be conditioned at a very early age, whether it comes to our career or whether it comes to what we think about other people? But I love what you're saying that we really are the new generation and we are normalizing this.
Yeah.
Not normalizing judgment, but we're normalizing that this diversity and just such a richness in culture, and we come from so many different countries and backgrounds, and really normalizing that. So I would love, you shared so many bits of advice already with us,
Uh-huh.
and I love that we really get into the deep, not just entrepreneurship, but also just how what we're going through in our world today really helps navigate and drives our businesses as well. So I would
Yeah.
love to hear if you have any other advice for the current and next generation of
Oh,
aspiring
geez.
entrepreneurs, professionals.
The current and next generation really honestly invest in your own equilibrium, your own
Mhm.
homeostasis. Again, what we're learning from this pandemic, what we're learning from this global reset is how can we face ourselves? How can we be honest human beings and reflect that in our behaviors with other human beings?
Mhm.
There's a common saying that your personality is shaped by the people who are closest to you. So
Mhm.
think about that. What do you want to remove, dissect from your life so that you can, hydroponically propagate new roots? I'm gonna get really fucking dorky with this. But yeah, we were talking, we were talking earlier about
Yeah.
um, plants and just really restoring our relationship with nature. And I think that the human experience, once we start investing in that,
Mhm.
here in 10, 20 years, here in 100 years, our society is going to be a much, much different experience and a much stronger collective.
Mm.
So that's the advice
Absolutely.
I have. Just
Thank
really
you.
invest. You need to invest in yourself. It's not going to be, when you think of social conditioning, I remember there was a point when I was in fashion school that it was cool to drink and smoke and do all of these
Mhm.
things, and it's heavily saturated, and it injects people with this sort of confidence, like when you think of media or movies, how it's normalized to be cool, and now it's normalized to be uh, to basically promote radical self-care. How
Yes.
that shifts so fast, day
Yeah.
and night, day and night. I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be like cannabis or psilocybin bars here in Manhattan here in 2 years. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
No, absolutely. I think so. I think we're heading that direction, but,
I can't wait. It's gonna
I
be so
know.
good. It's
Oh
gonna
my
be
gosh,
so
I
good.
know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Haley. It's so important. I love how your advice is to invest in yourself, but not just like and invest in your business, invest in this, but it's really like investing in yourself at your core, because that's a message that can be so lost for that exact reason, as you said. It's cool to be busy. It's cool to be running yourself into the ground and being all over and being this very busy professional. It's cool to be like, as you said, like drinking and partying and smoking, but really I think what we're normalizing now, and thanks to the advice of you, is to really take care of yourself at your core first and invest in that, and the rest will come. I really believe that, and it's something
It's
that
so
I'm still
true.
working on too. So I love talking with you because you
I'll
always
help
remind me
you.
to slow
We
down.
we can have a holistic consultation. It's so funny. It's
Yes.
like all the people coming into my life, it's all about that. They're like, hey, can you give me some advice? It's
Yeah.
like promoting holistic therapy, mind, body, quantum,
Yeah.
normalizing this. So future generations won't be laughing, or, there will be less violence. Like, let's put it there. It's like we're killing each other. Let's
Yeah.
stop. Like, what does it say about the people doing it? It's like
Right.
invest in human psychology.
Yes. No,
um,
absolutely. And if we do normalize that self-care, even if it happens just on such a small level, as you're saying, with conversations like this, we will get to hopefully that point of where if you are at peace with yourself, we won't have so much violence. We won't have people killing each other for no reason and absurd reasons and all of that. We won't have that fear. that exists
Yep.
when we can understand ourselves and therefore other people. Oh my gosh, of course, Haley, I love it. I hope we all take this Haley energy into the rest of our day because we know that we need it. We all need it. I love it. It's like a punchy, get after it, let's change the world, but that's also take care of ourselves in the process. Which is
Yep.
so important. So, as I was saying, thank you, Haley. If you want to jump in and learn more about what she's up to, we have as she mentioned, we have a bunch of great projects and other entrepreneurs in our network who have connected us. So if you want to learn more, visit her. Her Instagram is below. You can reach out to her. If you want to connect with her directly, whether it's to learn more about her story, her product, or even just learn about how she really has changed her lifestyle to be and is such a healer, and how she can help you do the same if you are feeling stuck in that rat race or that burnout phase.
I hope that you find something that makes you happy today
Mm.
and try and reduce stress. Basically, invest in your happiness. Invest in your happiness.
Wonderful
Yeah.
closing words. Thank you, Haley. Invest in
Thank
yourself,
you.
invest in your happiness. Do one thing today to reduce your stress, even if it's something small.